Hey, this is Dr. Bonsai. Today we're going to compare two different lenses. I have the EFS 24mm f2.8 and the EF-M 22mm f2. First off, I'm going to do some tests with video. They're pretty narrow considering the crop, so it's not going to be a good idea to use these for this type of stuff, but I wanted to try out just to see how it looks. Just a little autofocus test. See how they look. They should be pretty good. So 1/60th of a second, f4, ISO 100. Not too bad. Do some vlogging stuff with it. Like I said, this is not a good combination. They are both in no stabilization mode. You can probably tell that it looks pretty bad. If I can even get them both in the frame. This is definitely not something you want to do. It would work if you have a long enough selfie stick thing that can handle a decent sized camera. But I personally wouldn't do it. I'm going to switch to electronic stabilization. I imagine they're pretty similar with autofocus, just because of how they're built. They have a very similar build to them. Try to get them both in the frame. I can't tell with one camera, so I'm trying to judge it based on the one screen that is out. We'll hold these steady for a second. On the left here, we have the 24. On the right, we have the 22. Look at the different look. Get an idea. Of course, there is an offset because the cameras are next to each other. They're not going to be perfectly centered. Standard stabilization. Now we are in enhanced stabilization. This is a very different look. Interesting. Let's see. Let's try to hold here for a second. Let's do a quick pan. This is a good one. Just trying to hold it steady on this path. We are still in enhanced stabilization. Just can get an idea what it is like. I'm going to do a touch focus test in video mode. Here's an idea of what you would get out of the two lenses with the maximum aperture. They're in manual focus at the moment. We're at f4. 2.8 and 2.0. Here we are at the maximum aperture for each lens, f2.8 for the 24 and f2 for the 22. See that the different exposure, what you could get out of it in this case. Some situations it could matter with that larger aperture. Might get you a little more light when you need it. Do a quick test with 1/60th of a second so you can get an idea of what the different apertures can do for you in a little bit darker situation. In this case, at 60 frames a second for the video, I'm doing 1/125th of a second shutter speed, which means there's less light for the sensor, and that larger aperture could do something nice in this case. But check it out and see what it looks like compared to the two different cameras with f2 and f2.8. don't know, does it make a difference? I can't tell because I can't see one of the screens, but you get the idea. All right, now we're going to do some photos with these two. I'm going to do a 2-second timer on the cameras so that gets a little bit of the shake out of the equation. Let's look for some other stuff. It's clear that one lens is significantly larger than the other one when they're attached to the EF-M cameras. Because you have the adapter, the EF mount is a lot longer flange distance. You just have to deal with that. It's not a huge lens on this camera, but it is pretty large. And do another video test. We're at f9 and no stabilization, of course. We're on the tripod. I personally didn't see a huge difference between the two. You've got the 2mm on the 24 extra, which I think I might prefer a little bit of that focal length compared to the 22, but that's personal preference. We've got the 24, which you can probably find used a lot cheaper than the 22. That's another benefit. But then you've got the native performance, which I think is a slight improvement in video, a slight improvement in photos. And then you have the size difference to consider. With the 24 and the adapter, it's almost double the size. So there are benefits definitely to the more expensive 22. If you already have the 24mm lens, but you don't have an adapter, price of these official adapters is pretty expensive. Maybe if you can find one to use, be a nice combination. But with this, it's native performance, it's small, compact. That's a big benefit to me personally. It really depends on what your personal preference is with these lenses. I think they're both sufficient. Of course, you do get a little bit more large aperture performance with the f2 versus the f2.8. That's something to think about. I did have that video test where it shows the exposure difference, so you do get that benefit, which is nice. All that said, I think both of them will work well. It really depends on what you're interested in, how much you want to spend, and all that. Scarf Photography Bonds, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. That helps me out a lot. Likes, shares, and the applause feature helps out a lot as well. Thanks again.